Alibaba is connecting rural residents to online shopping. Stay tuned to learn more. Welcome, listeners, to Advanced Radio, and we are on our business article for the month of September. And we've been learning about the e-commerce company, the Chinese e-commerce giant company, Alibaba, and how they're connecting with rural residents to online shopping. Now, we've known that Alibaba has been connecting residents in the city to online shopping for quite some time. But we're learning now of a new development where they're connecting rural residents to online shopping. And yesterday, we talked a lot about that, but first of all, I want to thank you for coming back for day 2. And also in my studio right now with me, I have 2 great hosts that decided to return from yesterday. To my right, I have...
This is Serena. It's great to be back.
Thanks for coming back, Serena. And to my left, I have...
Brendan, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. Now, I would love to hear from the both of you what you learned yesterday and what we can review with our listeners.
Well, yesterday we learned about Lu Rong, who actually quit his engineering job to move to the countryside to help these rural residents. And I thought that was really awesome because usually most people do the opposite. They go from the rural countryside to the city to get a job. But he was willing to risk his engineering job to help these people in the countryside, and so these people can learn how to buy things online and make their lives more convenient.
Good. And what about you, Brendan?
Well, I just kind of want to jump off of that and say that, he's doing that, and he's doing a great job, and somebody needed to do that, and I thought that was wonderful. But what's sort of interesting is that Alibaba seems to be supporting him, and not just Alibaba, but also the government is stepping in and helping out, footing various bills, renovating buildings, giving free space, trying to promote this. So this guy is doing this great work on his own, but he's also getting some help from the outside.
Right, yes. We learned towards the end of yesterday that the government and Alibaba are working together because it jibes with the national goals of the country. Now, we learned that jibe with just means that it's matching or similar to. And so what they're wanting to do is boost customer spending to fuel the economic growth of the nation and also narrow the income gap between urban and rural citizens. Like Serena mentioned, a lot of focus in the past has been about how rural residents have been moving to the city so that they can have a stable income. And at that time, that was fueling economic growth within the country. But we've seen that has slowed down. So they're looking at new ways to fuel economic growth. And they've come up with this way to help the 600 million rural residents. Now, was that number stunning to you, Serena?
600 million. That's a huge number. So it's just amazing how many people, how effective it's going to be to all these people.
Right. That's a lot of people that they can tap into as consumers to do online shopping. And so really this is stepping towards the future and also helping rural residents at the same time. Like Brendan, you mentioned Lu Rong, he's gone from his Shanghai job to the countryside to help his neighbors. And I think that that's just a great way to give back to your community when you see an opportunity in the future of being able to help rural residents make their life more convenient, increase their income. He has taken this opportunity. And we're going to learn a little bit more about how Alibaba, through Rural Taobao, is helping local rural residents. So let's look at our first reading for today. It's on page 33. We're going to take the left column in line 1.
Jade Peak is just 165 miles southwest of Hangzhou, which has a population of 8.8 million. Until last year, a trip to buy something as basic as a faucet meant an all-day expedition to the nearest township, given that bus service over a steep dirt track ran just twice a day. But the completion of a new highway, a 1.6-mile tunnel, and a winding asphalt road up the mountain last year are starting to change life in Jade Peak. Travel times to the nearest township have been halved. Package delivery firms, enticed by subsidies from Alibaba, are now making the trek up on a near-daily basis. Alibaba's logistics arm makes sure the deliveries are optimized for maximum efficiency.
Well, yesterday we learned about a man called Lo Rong who had given up his engineering job in Shanghai to move back to his mountaintop village in Jade Peak. And Jade Peak is where we begin today's reading. Jade Peak is just 165 miles southwest of Hangzhou. And this has a population of how many people, Serena?
8.8 million.
That's a lot of people. Right?
Right.
When you were living in New York, was it?
New Jersey, which is where I'm from.
Okay.
Right, and it's actually very dense. It's a very small state, but there's a lot of people. So it's very crowded, a lot of traffic.
Okay.
So I can imagine.
Okay, well, I have been to Hangzhou. The roads are extremely wide. The buildings are very big compared to what I'm used to. So I don't know if that's how they fit in that 8.8 million people. Perhaps they've spread out rather than gone up. With big buildings, but that is a lot of people. And what was happening until last year, Brendan?
Well, in order to get basic needs or like faucets or whatever, in order to buy anything like that, they had to basically spend an entire day to go to the nearest township. And that could be really difficult because, according to the article, the bus service only runs twice a day.
Right.
So they would have to, probably in the morning and the evening, in the morning they had to get up, go down to the township, get whatever they need, and then wait around until the bus is able to take them back.
Right, and then we see it would perhaps the journey itself is not that easy because it's over steep dirt track. It's not actually a sealed road. And so this is, even though Hangzhou itself, the city has fairly good infrastructure, we see that Jade Peak is in a rural area and that even the roads themselves are not sealed. So that would make it very difficult. But there has been an improvement, Serena.
Right. There's a completion of a new highway, a 1.6-mile tunnel, and a winding asphalt road up the mountain. And asphalt. We see the word asphalt, and that is the black substance that we use to make strong surfaces for the roads.
Right. We see earlier that they were having to travel on bus through a steep dirt track. And now they've managed to turn that into a sealed road using asphalt. And they have a new highway. They even made a tunnel, which I'm sure would have cut down on a lot of time. Because going up a mountain and going down the mountain takes a lot of time. But if you can go through the mountain, that's even better. Now, this happened last year, and we see that it's starting to change life in Jade Peak. How is it changing life in Jade Peak, Brendan?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, that it took an all-day trip just to get to the village to buy things. With the improvements to the infrastructure now, it's a lot shorter. You can get to where you need to go faster. So if you wanted to go and buy things there, you can do it at much quicker speed. However, deliveries also can arrive at the town much easier. So it's two ways. Not only can you leave easier, but packages can be brought to you also much easier.
Yeah, we actually see that the travel time has been halved. So what took a day now only takes half a day. And like you mentioned, the package delivery is also shortened as a consequence. We see that the package delivery firms, they have been enticed by subsidies from Alibaba. What is a subsidy, Serena?
A subsidy is money given as part of the cost of something to encourage it to happen.
Right. So Alibaba has the products and they need a way to deliver them back to the consumer. And so what they're doing is they're saying, hey, if you deliver my goods, I will give you a cut. So it'll be cheaper than what may be normal. And so they are helping Alibaba get the goods to the consumer. And they're now making this trek up to Jade Peak on a near daily basis. What do we mean when we say near daily?
What we mean is simply that the service happens almost every day.
Good. Maybe not daily, but yeah, close to it. Okay, good. We see Alibaba's logistics arm makes sure the deliveries are optimized for maximum efficiency. Now, when we say something is an arm, like here, Alibaba's logistics arm, it means the department or the area of the business that deals with the logistics. And they make sure that all the deliveries are optimized. What do we mean by optimized?
It means to make something as good as possible.
Right, for maximum efficiency. So they want to get their product to the consumer as quickly as possible. And they're asking these delivery firms to help them do that. Well, let's see how rural Taobao is helping people in the foreseeable future.
The foreseeable future. Already, Luorong has plans to move his storefront into a bigger space, which the government will pay to renovate. He envisions adding more services, including printing, copying, and video conferencing, so elderly parents in Jade Peak can chat with their sons and daughters who have moved to big cities. Next, I want to help sell our local products like potatoes and smoked meat online, said Luorong. It's long been my dream to contribute to the development of my village.
Well, listeners, if you're just joining us, we are looking at a business article for the month of September, and we're learning about the Chinese e-commerce giant of Alibaba and how they're connecting rural residents to online shopping. We've learned how they're doing that through package delivery firms, helping them to optimize getting their products by maximum efficiency to the consumer. Now, we see in this next paragraph the heading, the foreseeable future. Brendan, what does foreseeable mean?
We sometimes use the phrase the near future for this because it's mostly short-term in the future what we can predict with a reasonable amount of certainty.
Right.
So, like in the foreseeable future, I am going to be eating lunch soon or something, very, to put a silly but basic example. It hasn't happened yet, but we can pretty much assume that that's going to happen.
Good, yes. So it's an assumption or a guess at what is going to happen in the future. Now we see here Luorong, we were introduced to yesterday. He is a 30-year-old who quit his engineering job in Shanghai to move back to Jade Peak, which is in the rural countryside. He has some plans. What are his plans, Serena?
He has plans to move his storefront into a bigger space, which actually the government will pay for and renovate for him.
Which goes in line with what we were talking about at the end of yesterday, that the government is working with Alibaba because they want to see the economic growth of their country increase. So they're also putting a lot of time, money, and energy into rural Taobao, helping rural residents. And so what does Luorong envision?
He really wants to add a whole bunch of more services, printing, copying, video conferencing, various services that perhaps those of us in the city take for granted. And he wants to bring them out to the rural countryside where they don't have access to that sort of thing.
Good. And he goes on to say something for the elderly as well, Serena.
All right, it says the elderly parents in Jade Peak can chat with their sons and daughters who have moved to big cities. So here he's really trying to really connect the families.
Right. We've seen in the past again that in China a lot of sons and daughters, the younger generation, had to move away from rural areas due to jobs in the city. And we don't know if that will change in the future due to things like rural Taobao, but we do know that Luo Rong wants to connect his neighbors with their families better through the use of technology and through video chat online. And so he's helping the elderly parents do that. Perhaps they don't know how to use the technology, how it operates. So he's also a teacher. He's helping them connect online. Also, what else does he want to do, Brendan?
Well, he says that he wants to help sell the local products like potatoes and smoked meat through the internet. And he wants this to happen so that he can contribute to the development of his village. Naturally, if they're selling items, they are making money, and that can help improve the village, develop it, improve the infrastructure, all kinds of wonderful things that, frankly, they might need.
Right. And it's interesting, in a lot of different rural areas, they have a specialty of something. Perhaps, they grow grapes, a vineyard, or perhaps they have corn, or perhaps they're in dairy farming. Well, here we see in Jade Peak that potatoes and smoked meat are what they are good at. And so that's great that he wants to help them sell them online. And like we see, the reason for why he moved from Shanghai back to Jade Peak, he wanted to contribute to the development of his village. And that is a great ambition and goal to have, to help his neighbors. But let's learn a little bit more in our next reading.
Not without effect. While rural Taobao is helping farmers sell their produce at higher prices and buy things more cheaply, the introduction of the platform has not been without its effects on local brick-and-mortar stores. Luo Rong says he keeps the peace with the small convenience stores in Jade Peak by focusing his sales on products they don't offer. The future is big. Sun Lijun, general manager of rural Taobao, who grew up in a small village near Hangzhou called White Ox, says the ultimate aim is to eliminate the urban-rural gap in opportunities, incomes, and conveniences. Many people will return home to be part of this, he predicts. I see this as a revolution.
Okay, well, we've been learning about Alibaba connecting rural residents online, and we have met Luo Rong. Luo Rong has been helping his village, whether it be elderly people or people who own businesses, farmers. He's helping them through rural Taobao to sell their products online or connect with their families online. But we do see that rural Taobao does not come without effect. What do we learn in this first paragraph, Serena?
Well, it says while rural Taobao is helping farmers sell their produce at higher prices and buy things more cheaply, the introduction of the platform has not been without its effects on local brick-and-mortar stores.
Okay, so brick-and-mortar is in our specialized term. Brick-and-mortar store. What is a brick-and-mortar store? It is where we're operating a business from a physical building rather than online. Now we see here that rural Taobao is having an effect on these brick-and-mortar stores, but I think that that's quite an international problem, right, Brendan?
Yes, when you have an online business or an online distributor, they are able to get the product directly from where it's being made and send it to you. When you have a physical location, there are a few problems. First of all, you have to go to the location, which is not as convenient as just shopping from your home. Secondly, because they have to ship the product to the store, it raises the price because the store has to pay not just the factory, but also the shipping company. And then you have to pay functionally the factory, the shipping company, and the store so that the store can make a certain amount of money. So online shopping isn't just more convenient, it also is naturally cheaper.
Okay. And so, unfortunately, perhaps for brick and mortar stores, they are feeling the impact of online shopping. As more people are drawn to shop online, the customers not coming into their stores. But we see that Laurent says he has found a way to deal with keeping the peace in regard to that, Serena.
Right. He says he's keeping the peace with the small convenience stores in Jade Peak by focusing his sales on products that they don't offer.
And that's very wise. He's trying not to directly compete with them and the products that they have in their stores, but rather to provide products that they don't have in their stores. So perhaps they are even his customer as well. Well, we see the future is big. What do we learn from the general manager of rural Taobao, Sun Li Jun? Brendan.
He says that the ultimate aim is to eliminate the urban-rural gap in opportunities, income, and conveniences. Now, yesterday we talked about this urban-rural gap, and that income gap is because most of the income and the economy is happening in the cities, so rural areas don't have as much money as urban areas. So there's this gap because of this difference. He wants to eliminate this gap so everyone is on an even economic sort of playing field, I guess.
Right, and it's interesting to note that he himself also comes from a small village near Hangzhou called White Ox, and I think that's one thing we see in common with him and also Laurent, that they originated from the rural area. They have gone into the city, and they do see the need, perhaps because their family members are there still or their friends are there, and they see the need to reduce the gap, the income gap between rural areas and the city, and they can see how it's going to really help their neighbors as well. So what does he say at the end there, Serena?
He says that many people will return home to be part of this, and he says he thinks this is going to be a revolution.
Right, so that's what he sees or he predicts for the foreseeable future. Do you agree with him?
I definitely do. As technology is becoming more popular, I think it's always going to be changing as well. So, yeah, I think it's great that all these rural residents are going to be able to learn how to use that technology and slowly learn how to just increase their technology skills.
What about you, Brandon?
I think that it's a noble goal, and I think that it's definitely something that should be worked toward. I think it's a little bit far-fetched to think that it can be completely eliminated, but that's simply because of how I understand economics works. There are always going to be some people who have more money because of the way, again, the way I understand economy works. But also, rural areas, they will improve greatly, and there will be a lot of, but we need farmers. We need food to survive, We need, just as we need, people to advance technology, we also need people to help us eat.
Right.
And they have a very important job, and I know I couldn't do it. So
right.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I have a lot of friends back home in New Zealand that are farmers, and they use technology a lot for maintaining their land, whether it be to know, when the right seasons are, this kind of thing, maintaining their land for the ripe time. And I think in rural parts of China, they haven't got that yet. And I think this will greatly increase their ability to do that in the future. And not only that, I think that because of the amount of people, it will really improve their lives. We're talking about 600 million people here that perhaps have not had contact with the ability that technology has. I remember going to a rural area in Xi'an, and they had a lot of kiwi fruit orchards there. And I remember thinking, wow, the land is amazingly big, but just with technology and the introduction of things like this, I think that it will increase greatly, and they will catch up with other parts of the world, definitely.
And not only that, as the rural areas improve, then so will the urban areas, because you'll be able to, like I said, we need the food. So when they're able to produce efficiently and, be able to keep up economically and keep up with the technology, that's going to help, the urban areas, and they will improve. And so everything will just keep getting better.
Right. It's like we're refining the process of getting the products from the rural area into the hands of those in the urban area, and vice versa. So anything that will help improve and maybe streamline that in the process of improving people's lives is a good thing. And I think it's just really interesting to see how they're wanting to go back, Lo Rong and also Sun Legion, to help their neighbor with really just connecting them better and giving them the resources that they can improve their lives with. Well, listeners, we hope that you enjoyed today's business article. We would love to hear your feedback as well. How do you want to improve the lives of your neighbors, your community? Perhaps there are dreams that you have, like Lo Rong, to improve what's going on within your community. And we would love to hear your feedback. Perhaps this has inspired you to think about that. We hope that it has, but that it has also improved your English vocabulary. Make sure you join us next time here on Advanced Radio. But this is Amanda.
This is Serena.
And Brendan.
Saying goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.